Our boy is an exceptional soldier working under the command of the Aldemir Republic. He's part of a special platoon of elite soldiers commonly known as the Ghosts. This particular group is feared by soldiers and terrorist organizations around the world alike. After all, they're called the best special forces for a reason. Among them is our boy, an exception even among these already exceptional soldiers. His name is George Sai. Bro is a literal war machine. He can crunch numbers on the battlefield like numbers on an abacus. His name alone makes people shudder with apprehension. That's also why he's been given a nickname that perfectly fits his personality, known as Mr. War. His exploits earned him not only admirers but enemies too. Enemies who want him dead. And eventually he met his tragic fate. He was shot dead. Now don't get it twisted. With all the glaze I just threw at our boy, it wasn't just hot air. There's really no enemy born who can take down a beast like him. He was actually betrayed by the people he once considered comrades. He executed one particular mission with such finesse that he alone wiped out the entire enemy force in record time. Of course, this didn't sit well with his greedy captain Beck, who wanted to be the center of attention. So the poor guy was eventually killed cold-blooded. Even while dying, he couldn't believe he'd been betrayed. The image of a particular woman, Sophia, flashed through his mind before his mind went blank. As soon as he blacked out, he immediately opened his eyes, only to find a rotten corpse ready to make love with him. But he pushed the corpse aside, only to find himself lying in a pile of corpses surrounding him. All these corpses were inside a dumpster truck that wasted no time dumping everything over the cliff. While the bodies rained down into the river, George managed to grab the ledge of the cliff and save his life. He quickly climbed up after literally teetering on the edge of death. The sheer number of corpses he just saw dumped was staggering. The guys who dumped these decayed bodies seemed chill about it, like dumping dozens of rotting corpses was just part of their everyday routine. They were glad they were feeding the fish in Tokyo Bay with some extra food. Speaking of Tokyo, it seems like our boy woke up in Japan, a place that was once his homeland in a past life. For some context, George was shot dead on July 6, 2025, and has now been reincarnated in a place known as the Island of Despair. Of course, George has no idea what the hell is going on. The last thing he remembers was carrying out a mission in the Middle East, but now he's been transported to Tokyo Bay in Japan. Things don't add up. And what's with all these corpses that just got dumped right in front of his eyes? A while later, he can be seen sprinting through a dense forest in his hobo getup. Though just this quick dash has him panting heavily, like he ran a marathon. Seems like his current body doesn't have the durability and endurance it once did. As if on cue, his belly begins to rumble, craving some grub to supply his brain and muscles the well-deserved glucose it needs. Later, he manages to find bamboo that has enough water to keep him hydrated for the time being. Sitting atop a tall tree, the bird's-eye view helps him locate a small settlement of a few hundred houses. Calling it a slum instead of a town would be way more appropriate. George walks around the dirty streets to assess his situation. From what he gathered, this place is located around Tokyo Bay. But if he thinks about it, a disgusting slum like this isn't typical for Japan. Suddenly, his eyes land on something shocking. He's looking at a mirror, staring at himself in disbelief. He isn't the same person he used to be. This body isn't his. To make things even more complicated, someone calls out to him from behind, calling him Michio. George's survival instincts kick in, and he immediately grabs the unknown figure who dared to put a hand on his shoulder out of the blue. Since this person looks unarmed, it's safe to assume he's no threat. So, our boy lets go of the grip he had on the guy. Not to mention, this unknown person might be the one who can answer all the daunting questions clouding George's mind. First of all, George lets it sink in that his name is Michio in this life, or at least that's what this unknown person says. The next thing to note is that this unknown person considers our boy his friend. My guy calms down, apologizes for the rough behavior he just showed, and extends a hand to help his friend stand up. The friend is relieved to see our boy doing well, especially since he took a brutal beating recently. Of course, Michio doesn't remember facing such unpleasant situations. The friend mentions the name of the bastard behind their misery, Zeha. Before the friend can elaborate, the root of terror arrives right behind them, as if summoned by their terrible fate. My scumbag detecting senses are screaming that this dude is your average buff gorilla who thinks he's the main character. This bastard overheard the purple-haired guy mentioning his name, and he isn't happy that these two dared to say it without using proper honorifics. How dare these mere minors show such insolence? They must be punished. This gorilla balls up his fist and throws a devastating punch squarely on the poor guy's face, who didn't even bother to dodge. The impact sends him skidding backward. Even though the bastard channeled all his frustration into that single punch, he still seems unsatisfied and wants to vent more of his pent-up anger. He grabs the poor guy by the hair and reminds him of the rules that only favor this bastard. And if anyone objects, they'll only be granted a spot in the grave. Unable to bear more, the scummy friend pins everything on Michio, claiming it was our boy who called the gorilla carelessly without honorifics. Somehow, this scummy friend manages to convince the gorilla, who is now about to make Michio his next target. He yanks the scrawny dude away and confronts our boy. He expresses surprise seeing our boy standing in one piece, as he wasn't expecting him to survive, at least not after the beating he got last time. My guy remains indifferent, no matter how aggressive this ugly gorilla may seem. He's so expressionless that even the gorilla can't help but notice. And that only tempts this bastard to beat our boy even more. He's cracking his knuckles doing this pre-beating workout. Even then, my guy stays cool as a cucumber. No apprehension at all on his face. Eventually, the bastard's ego gets the better of him, and he swings a punch at our guy, who just lets the swing zip right past him. This bastard is all brawn with barely any brain behind that swing. In fact, Michio can tell this dude is just an amateur who doesn't know what he's doing. Usually my guy refrains from fighting civilians, but since he's under attack, he's got to do something to keep his self-control. Bro flips his switch and goes from a normal teenager to the next Mike Tyson. First, he ducks precisely and lets the fatty's punch fly over his head, then follows up with his own attack. It's a devastating blow that really scrambles the bastard's brain. While he may have survived physically, mentally his ego is bruised beyond repair. The only reason this bastard didn't get his head popped is because the body our boy is in doesn't have much physical strength. But that's not enough reason for our boy to back down. He charges right back at the bastard. First, he slides to the fatty's left to avoid the incoming hit, then plants his feet and lands a devastating shoulder smash right on that big, hard-to-miss face. Shards of broken teeth fly everywhere, and blood gushes out of his mouth. The pig is finally getting a reality check. He isn't the main character after all. This is just the trailer, and Michio's more than willing to deliver the rest of the movie if this bastard desperately wants to. If not, then Fatty can go. Squabbling with amateurs isn't his style. With those bruise-hurting words, Michio turns on his heels, thinking the fight's over. But we all know this cliched Fatty isn't without his dirty tricks. He pulls out a knife, a literal fucking knife on a teenager who isn't even his equal. That makes this scumbag times 100. He rushes at our boy, trying to claim his life with that pointy dagger in hand. Michio may have lost his old body, but he hasn't lost his spark. He senses the strike coming. Before he can react, a kid headbutts him out of the way and takes the dagger's path. Michio meets the dagger again with agility and deflects it. After locking the bastard's hands, he shoots deadly glares sharper than the knife itself. Since this fatty pulled a weapon, it clearly means he's ready to kill or be killed. So, my guy is more than ready to fulfill this suicidal maniac's wish. He hits the bastard over his collarbone and after tripping him down, slam dunks the bastard who's the size of a literal elephant. The kid who risked it all is left with his mouth wide open, unable to comprehend what Michio just did. But we all know it's very, very, very real. Those screams of agony slipping from the fatty's fat ass are living proof. He doesn't even get the chance to recover before my guy is ready to throw another devastating punch. There you go, the last ballistic punch, intended to send this bastard beyond the heavens. The kid watches in awe as my guy retracts his bloody fist. The bastard may have been rendered unconscious, but it wasn't enough to blow his head to bits. My guy had plans to send this dude straight to the funeral home, but his weak body once again held him back. The damage is negligible compared to what he was capable of in the past, so it's high time he starts working on this weak-ass body to reach the pinnacle of his former power. Let's not forget about that kid in the background, standing with awestruck eyes. He literally has no clue when the weak-ass Michio he knew turned into this macho man. The kid wants answers right away. Michio decides to be a little honest. He claims to have amnesia, which is why he can't remember anyone, including this kid. The kid reveals his name is Kyo, the guy who lives next door. Michio simply starts walking past the pig's body, claiming to have no recollection of anyone named Kyo. The little kid is rather annoyed to hear this. They make such a crazy duo, so how can Michio forget their shared bond? The pig, meanwhile, is on the ground. His switch finally flipped, his head literally reaching boiling point. Meanwhile, our duo is trekking through the dirty streets of the slums. The kid is absolutely glazing over the fight sequence my guy whipped out against that oppressive fatty. He is so inspired, he wants to learn a few moves of his own. Michio shrugs off everything Kyo says and expresses his desire to learn more about this island. The kid then explains that the place they live is an industrial waste island floating in Tokyo Bay. Basically, an empire of garbage crawling with filth and neglect. Seems like this is the first time Michio has ever heard of a place like this existing in Japan. Here, men are forced to sell their souls and minds, while women and children survive by selling stuff or picking through garbage. And the concept of security doesn't even exist. Calling this place a cesspool would be generous. It's a festering land of filth where progress goes to die. Michio racks his brain and figures slums like these only exist in war-torn regions. Or maybe even worse. As they walk, they come across a bakery selling diarrhea. I mean food which is barely edible. Even then, the little one is so desperate for a taste of that stale bread, he starts to drool. The shop owner tries to shoo this broke kid away, which only hurts the little one's ego. Who gave this bastard the right to judge others? It's then my guy pulls out a currency note and drops it on the counter. The shop owner is quite astonished to see that much money coming from a teen who looks like a hobo. Kyo, meanwhile, is overjoyed to get the piece of bread. He's truly over the moon. Though he's curious where he got this kind of money. The boy claims he scooped it up during his recent fight. While he doesn't take pride in robbing dead guys, every penny matters in a place like this, and survival takes precedence over morals. Of course, hearing him talk like that, Kyo can clearly tell this isn't the Michio he remembers. A while later, they arrive at the kid's house. Indoors, the kid's mom lies on the bed, seemingly weak and sick. The joyful kid is happy to report that they're gonna have a feast tonight with the bread he got. The mother looks like a dried leaf. Her condition clearly tells the grim tale that she is malnutritioned. Even then, the mother is more concerned about her little one and wants the kid to eat the bread. The doting boy assures his doting mother that he's already well fed, so this is all for her to eat. When the mother insists, the little one reassures her again and tells her to go ahead and eat it. A smile spreads across our boy's face seeing such a heartfelt moment. But soon trouble follows. Michio is trying his best to open the front door, but it seems stuck. The fire has started spreading through the house, and if they don't escape, they'll be the perfect meal for Mother Nature. Their crib has been set ablaze by miners working under the command of that same pig who seems to want even more beating, as if one round wasn't enough. He thinks the world revolves around him and won't sit idle until he gets his revenge. The poor mother and son are trapped inside the crib while the fire spreads faster than the boomer parents forwarding WhatsApp conspiracy theories. Meanwhile, our boy is trying his hardest to shred the door and jump to the other side, but no matter how hard he pushes, all efforts fail. His soldier instincts scream that this is an elaborate ambush. The enemy has sealed the door from outside. There are at least 8 or 9 attackers waiting out there. He looks around the house, darting his eyes to find anything that can be used as a makeshift weapon. Finally, his eyes lock on a pouch that seems to contain something. Grabbing the pouch, my guy rushes out and blows the door open with a single kick. Even the guys reinforcing the gate are flung away like trash bags. The only thing waiting outside for our boy is that filthy bastard along with his filthy sidekicks. The entire pack cackles like hyenas, seeing their prey come out to get itself killed. The fat ass orders his pussy soldiers to surround him from every side, and those laborers obey their master. They surround our boy completely, while the fire behind him ensures he's completely trapped. The only way forward now is to fight these bastards. He's definitely not vibing with this fat ass who still hasn't learned his lesson. The bastard responds with a sassy smile, thinking he's got it covered. But in reality, we all know who's about to get their ass whooped. He's here to punish our boy for the ego he bruised. And the only appropriate punishment for that offense is a death sentence. Very well then. My guy is once again ready to evaporate the last bit of dignity this pig has and teach him how dead wrong he really is. The mother and son duo are in the background, struggling to breathe as the harsh smoke penetrates their lungs. The kid calls out to his friend Michio, who responds and gestures for them to run as soon as they get the chance. The battle starts with one of the punching bags running straight toward his doom. The bastard thinks having a weapon in hand automatically means a win against an unarmed opponent. But little does he know. He didn't see this sack of rocks hitting his head hard enough to take him down for good. The spectators, along with that fatty, are left with their jaws hanging. It's actually the same pouch Michio swiped before leaving the crib. Using the pouch, he whipped up a makeshift weapon made from cloth and small stones. It's one of the techniques my guy calls blackjack. This baby packs a punch if used right. When spun to build momentum, it can easily shatter a skull on impact. It might seem like a cute, easy-to-make weapon, but it's just as deadly. The other goons haven't figured out the kind of trouble they're in and recklessly charge at their opponent. But my guy plows through the enemies, decimating them one after another with that weapon of his. A perfect skull smasher, if you ask me. Just like our boy promised, all the confidence that bastard had is now evaporated. With all the men dusted and decimated, my guy walks toward the final cookie he's got to crack. In a do-or-die moment, the poor guy takes the plunge, challenging our boy and running straight at him. If he's gonna die, might as well try. My guy swings his sack of rocks and destroys the bastard's hand into smithereens. All this whiny bitch can do is whine out loud like he just got boned from behind. The dagger he once held menacingly is now lying on the ground. The big man is finally down on his knees, courtesy of a kid not even half his age. And this is exactly why this defeat is so humiliating. My guy is ready to deliver the final blow to put this guy down for good. But the big guy turns into a whiny mess, begging to be spared. All the begging goes down the drain when Michio swings that sack of rocks again, ready to finish him off. Fortunately for the bastard, that little boy rushes in and stops Michio before he can do what he was about to do. The kid pleads, spewing righteous bullshit about how killing is unethical, as if our boy doesn't already know that. But Michio doesn't listen to the kid's jibber-jabber. He keeps swinging it round and round to build momentum. The whiny mess starts running for his life while my guy keeps spinning that sack. With enough momentum gathered, he skillfully directs all the inertia toward that bastard. Luckily, that devastating blow misses and instead knocks down a nearby tree. Crazy that bro literally knocked down a tree with that explosive hit. Now imagine what could have happened to the fatty's ass if the hit had landed. I really want to see his ass flying with bits and pieces. Even my guy was hoping for the same, and now he's disappointed he missed. The whiny ass finally manages to run off with his life. The kid finally breathes a sigh of relief. Somewhere in a shady warehouse under the moonlit night, we see that fat ass, named Zeha, meeting his boss. He's sucking up, begging to kill Michio, calling that teenager a monster behind the decimation of their men. Eventually, he manages to earn his boss's favor, much to Zeha's happiness. But he never saw that punch coming from his very boss that turned his face into a bloody mess. Boss is pissed to hear this fat ass got whipped by a mere slave miner. This is an offense he can't tolerate, and this fatty must be punished. And the punishment will be execution level. Fatty starts crying, knowing full well what's coming. The boss keeps raining punches, his fists laced with brass knuckles. After turning the poor guy's face into an unrecognizable mess, he finally stops. His pet dog also gets a taste of the blood of his master's last victim. I say Fatty is the last victim because the boss already has his sights set on our boy, and we all know how that's gonna end. Later, we cut back to the rundown house that belongs to Michio, where the kid and his sick mother are calling it a night. The kid feels the weight of it all. So much effort he put into building that place, and now it's down the drain. He feels helpless, clueless about what to do in this hopeless situation. The sick mother doesn't want to be a burden by staying in Michio's crib, but the boy is pretty chill with that. After all, this is a deal, not like he's doing them a favor out of a melting heart. They give him info about the island, how it operates, where the food and other supplies are stored, any other key information that might come in handy against the bastards ruling this place. He wants to know everything, even the tiniest detail. Kyo, meanwhile, is fed up with the indifferent expression and soulless tone Michio's been rocking lately. The kid's lid is totally flipped. My guy, on the other hand, thinks this isn't how Kyo should be acting toward a total stranger. Kyo understands that his friend lost his memories but doesn't get how his entire personality changed. Is there a glitch in the Matrix? Internally, Michio syncs with what that kid is saying. Back in his previous life, he was a soldier shot dead by his own allies. He's sure someone senior was behind his assassination, likely Captain Beck. With all that happened, he isn't ready to sit idle in these slums. He will escape this filth hole for sure and exact revenge against every last one of the traitors who killed him. In the morning, he can be seen doing his usual body-strengthening drills to get a bit of his former strength back. He starts with handstands, then moves on to vertical push-ups, making sure his arms and core get enough work. He must bring his former body back if he really wants to survive here. As he goes through his morning routine, someone comes sprinting toward him. Turns out it's the same guy from before, the one who literally threw our guy under the bus. Now this boy is here to remind Michio about their shift in the mines. If they're late, only penalties await. My guy doesn't dwell on past events, like how this crazy ass betrayed him on the spot, and decides to visit the mines. He might gather some good intel there. In the underground mines, all the miners stand in double file under the command of their boss. Among them is our boy and a few of those goons he beat pretty hard yesterday. They start shaking when they spot our boy and the crew. Michio doesn't take long to recognize who these guys are. The boss finally bellows with an urgent announcement. Zeha, supervisor in charge of Team G, is dead. This news hits like a wrecking train, shocking everyone, especially Zeha's former lackeys. With Zeha out of the way, the boss appoints number 8 as the new leader of Team G, the same guy who betrayed our boy. Of course, this pussy has a hard time digesting that he's now taking the seat of the guy he feared most. About the mine, slave miners are forced to do physical labor from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. They work deep inside the tunnels under harsh conditions. The brutal, unforgiving workplace causes many health problems, especially for people in their 40s. It's hard for them to keep up. So more often than not, they get penalized for working slow or just taking an impromptu break. Either way, you earn a beating. Thankfully, this time they have number 8 as site supervisor, a whiny and untrusting guy, but kind-hearted. His name is Masa, and he gives his fellow workers enough encouragement to lighten their mood. He doesn't just support one teammate but visits everyone, offering words of encouragement. Seems like this guy isn't so bad after all. Even Michio is glad to see this. Out of the blue, the boss of the mining camp starts yelling at the workers. He aggressively pushes Masa away and steps forward. For all he cares, he hates people who act soft and all pooky. This is a place where only real men are needed. Just as the poor miner is about to get an unnecessary beating, my guy throws his pickaxe right at the bastard's feet and pretends his hand slipped. He immediately apologizes, though aggressively. Not that this apology is enough to satisfy the rabid bastard who's getting cocky just because he got a senior post. As he's ready to throw down with our boy, the big cheese himself arrives, much to this bastard's dismay. The boss has overheard everything and wants his lackey to fight the big guy instead. By the way, his name is Kusanagi. Everyone in the mine panics seeing the big cheese show up. The cocky sucker who used to terrorize every worker now feels terrorized himself. He would never dare fight his master. Disappointed, Kusanagi balls up his fist and throws a devastating punch to his lackey's head. The others are losing their minds, while Michio takes note of the skills this man has. Kusanagi precisely targets pressure points and knocks his opponent out. With the lackey down, the bastard is ready to fight the next guy. Since the only reason he came here was to fight our boy, he takes this chance and tries to drag Michio into a duel. But Michio has a strict rule against fighting without reason. Of course, Kusanagi isn't backing down, not until he exchanges a few fists with our boy. So, the bastard lunges at Michio, who in response quickly gets into stance, ready to fight on such short notice. The blonde brute has been meaning to weed out the rat who gave his underling a beatdown. In response, our boy quickly throws up his hands to protect himself. The lunging Kusanagi unleashes a flurry of blows, hammering down on Michio's defenses. Each attack is heavy, forceful, and hard to defend against. Even those watching, like Masa and his group, are fully convinced that Kusanagi will kill him at this rate. Michio himself is feeling completely overwhelmed without any chance to retaliate. He paces himself and tries to find an opening. He can't help but admit the professional fighting ability of his opponent, who is executing the best punches he can. Despite his perfect execution, no human can keep up those perfect attacks. Kusanagi's wide swings expose him to a retaliatory strike. Using that to his advantage, our boy quickly ducks the attack and bashes the bastard's face with a heavy punch. Masa's group is at a loss for words, unable to believe that their friend genuinely connected an attack against Kusanagi's face. But things were too good to be true. Because even after exploiting the opening, our boy's punch failed to connect. The blonde fucker caught it, and he's actually impressed to come across an opponent who can hold his own. Bro wants to keep on fighting, when suddenly, a loud voice commands them to quiet down. Upon sight of director Akichi, the miners quickly kneel down in respect. They show him supreme respect, while he's out here trying to carry Aizen's aura. Michio now finally knows about the man responsible for governing things around on the island. The director appears to be annoyed at Kusanagi's actions, believing that they'll keep on losing slaves if he keeps beating them to death. He even threatens to report the situation to the Blood-Pact Marquis if he doesn't stop. The very mention of the Blood-Pact Marquis causes Kusanagi to shudder and reconsider his actions. Bro pulls out his charming side and acts like he was trying to help out with a bit of guidance for the miners. Walking past, Akechi grills him to the ground, reminding the brute that all he's good for is punching things. Things that actually require room temperature IQ are far above him. The remark pisses him off to the core, but it's not like he can punch his own damn boss, although I'd love for that to happen. As for the kneeling slaves, Akechi pulls up to remind them that their job is to focus on mining instead of eating dirt on the ground. To him, they're nothing more than sub-tier humans, and their only use is to keep on mining to the day they die. The scene cuts to their lunch break. Eating his food, Michio is utterly depressed because of how cold and tasteless it is. His co-workers dread the taste and feel jealous of the supervisors, who always appear to have excellent meals. The slaves beg for a day where they can experience a tasty lunchbox like theirs. While Michio's busy eating, his buddies are complaining. Surprisingly, Masa turns up to our boy, offering him a taste of the exquisite lunch he received. Since he's a supervisor, he's included among the people who can experience the joy of good food, and he wants to share it with Michio. However, our boy sharply rejects the offer, shocking Masa to his core. No one would refuse food like that, but the reason our boy refused is actually related to his personality. He doesn't like to owe anyone a favor. Hearing that, Masa decides to sit right next to him, explaining that it's not about owing someone a favor, but rather, it's his idea of apologizing. Remember when Zeiha was beating him up? He pinned the blame on Michio and accused him of the act. That's why this is his way of redeeming himself, and he can't go on thinking that he betrayed someone. Realizing that Masa is actually a good guy, our boy smiles and decides to play along. He takes one piece of chicken and puts it in his mouth, believing that it should make up for one lie. But that's as far as he's willing to go with Masa's lunch. And while Masa is busy admiring Michio's actions, his houndish friends pounce on him from the back, begging to have the meal after our boy's refusal. Deciding to give up, Masa shares one piece with both of them, showing his consideration for his men. Their break is short as a superior comes along and roars at them for enjoying themselves too much. He orders them to quickly return to their posts and carry on working. Experiencing a proper workday, Michio realizes that these slaves are practically worthless in the eyes of their superiors. They do an incredible amount of work without proper food or breaks. The effects of having such a rigorous schedule takes a toll, as one of the men topples down, having reached his limit. A concerned Masa quickly comes over to check on his condition, hoping to help the man. But that's when one of his superiors comes along, ordering him to move aside. Then, he kicks the man's body, flipping him over to check his pulse. Unfortunately, the outcome is cold and merciless. The man is dead, and without even offering him a prayer, the superior roars at Group G to quickly dump their fallen comrade. This is the life that these guys are living. Masa's body quivers as he weeps genuine tears for a fallen human. He doesn't want Michio to burn himself to death like this guy. But what good will his advice do? The managers didn't care and still forced the miners to experience intense physical labor. That's right, not even the death of their own teammate can allow them a window to catch their breaths. Michio comes to grips with reality. This is the one place on Earth where human life is worth less than garbage. At long last, the excruciating day comes to an end with the manager ringing the bell. Masa can barely hold his own body together and celebrates the sight of completion. Michio, on the other hand, appears unbothered, like he didn't even go to work yet. Bro is literally built differently. He tells his friend that he's used to experiencing this kind of physical strain so it doesn't bother him. But Masa can't believe it. He's starting to question if Michi is even human at this point. The manager roars at them to stop their pointless conversation. By the way, at the end of every day, the workers are forced to strip. And in their naked and exhausted state, they're told to walk upstairs without stopping. The manager pushes them beyond their comfort and ensures that there isn't any kind of theft by inspecting their bodies. By the way, this also means checking their bums, because apparently a thief is willing to go that far. With the inspection finished, they're brought to the surface. Here, the Group G9 is stationed to get paid. For one day's work, they're paid a measly 1,000 yen, 16 excruciating hours for just this. But to the slaves? This pay is like experiencing $1 million in their bank account. One guy is acting so sus with it, I'm worried he'll marry the bill. Michio is disgusted and shocked at the state of these slaves, who are taking great joy in such distasteful conditions. Suddenly, the slaves experience true happiness, while Michio fails to understand their reactions. They're bouncing around like idiots at the sight of the smiley sale venue. The seller is a beautiful young woman who is here to sell them a flat 20% discount to appreciate their hard work. Of course, our boy didn't even know that a mining appreciation day even existed, but he's rather stunned to see all of his coworkers running around like animals just to get their sale. The same guy from earlier orders a beer and a bag of chips, cutting his wage by 1/3. But not just that, he also succumbs to his greed and takes a squid snack. Just like him, the rest of the slaves start going crazy, causing the lady to tell them to quiet down. The slaves quickly get drunk on beer, experiencing a rare joy that they'd never be able to feel otherwise. While some others try to refrain from spending all of their money, there are also people who spend the entire amount in one day. Witnessing the sight of these people delighting in short pleasures, wasting all of their money, has Michio questioning their behavior again. Even though they were being treated like dog shit a moment ago, these same slaves suddenly feel at the top of the world right now. Masa comes along and regrets being envious of others, while our boy learns that he actually doesn't spend a thing. Even though he also wants to experience happiness like his coworkers, Masa's fixated on a proper goal. He's going to purchase the Paraiso Pass, and that requires some serious saving. Intrigued, Michio quickly asks him about information on the pass. Masa realizes that his friend over here quickly forgot about what they were promised on the day they arrived on the island. Back then, they were dubbed as slaves who would be forced to work obscene amounts of hours and be treated worse than animals. At the same time, they were given one last shred of hope. If any of the slaves managed to save up 1 million yen, they would be given the chance to purchase the Paraiso Pass, allowing them permanent freedom from the island. At the time, everyone promised to save up their money to escape the island. Yeah, the same dude with the glasses who was lusting over his bill was roaring the highest back then. And now, he's an idiot drowning in his pleasures, having wasted all of his money. Masa is the only person among them who stood resolute on his goals. He made a declaration back then that no matter how much he gets tossed around, he'll never spend a single yen. Wow, this guy must be listening to David Goggins a lot. Anyway, the pieces start to connect in Michio's mind. You see, despite being on the worst place on the planet, the reason there isn't any uprising from the slaves is because they're given two impossible dreams. The first is the dream of hope, which is the Paraiso Pass, something they'll probably never achieve. The second is the dream of indulging in pleasure, something that will always keep them busy. The admins of this island fully understand the psychological concept of drowning someone in pleasure. It's a process so well designed that it makes our boy disgusted to the core. So, he picks out the note from his pocket and approaches Masa, asking how much more money he needs for the pass. Of course, it's such a sensitive question that Masa is worried that he'll get in trouble if he reveals it. However, Michio's serious about his intentions and assures the guy that he doesn't want to leak information. In fact, he surrenders his own wage to Masa's cause, believing that a guy like him could at least escape. In the next scene, we discover that Masa's incredible savings are only 60,000 short of his goals. Now, adding the fact that his savings will be doubled from now on, Michio assesses that Masa will be able to purchase the Paraiso Pass in 30 days. Even though he appreciates the gesture, Michio's friend has no idea why someone is willing to go that far for him. Our boy assures him not to worry, as he's doing it for his own sake too. But even more important than that, he checks out the situation of the ocean and asks if there are any docks for boats around. Masa flails his arm and invites Michio to take a good look on his own. There's genuinely nothing that can help them as the island is surrounded by cliffs. At the same time, Michio's intrigued by exploration and tries to get down to take a closer look. His friend quickly hovers over to warn him that attempting to get off the island is a serious offense. Hilariously, our boy refuses to believe that there are still laws governing a hellish island such as this. As he's climbing down, Michio hears a sudden sound. He looks around until he finally catches sight of the worst thing imaginable. It's an armed drone. And not just any drone. This thing is military grade of the highest caliber. Quickly, Michio tries climbing back up, while his friend fails to comprehend why a drone popped out of nowhere. The moment Michio climbs back up, he roars at Masa to start fucking running. The idiot has doubts, but then a bullet grazes his face, making him realize that our boy really isn't messing around. Both of them start running like their life depends on it. Mace is out here screaming at the top of his lungs while our boy is hilariously telling him to keep his mouth shut. The drone fires a barrage of bullets, but in typical main character fashion, they all happen to miss. Michio takes a peek at the drone, and quickly identifies its exact model as the SG Nemesis version 1. This machine fixates on a moving target and doesn't stop until the target is executed. The thing won't stop chasing you even if you somehow stole Andrew Tate's Bugatti and ran with it. Nicknamed the Mad Pursuer, this drone is such a murder machine that it made hardened soldiers on the battlefield tremble in fear. Our boy realizes that they can't keep running forever, so he changes direction and leads the drone into a dead end. Even Masa thinks it's a bad idea, but the best he can do right now is rely on Michio's plan. Sprinting full speed, they force the drone to follow them by also changing directions and heading into the thick forest. With its godlike tracking capabilities, it catches up to them in no time, while Michio's out here struggling to help Masa keep up with him. Unfortunately, not everyone's got his superhuman stamina, especially not if they've just gotten off their 16-hour workday. The situation is tenser than ever. They're starting to fatigue, and at this rate one of the bullets will shoot them down. But then an idea clicks in his mind. Michio sees an innocent little mouse on top of a branch and figures that this is their ticket to cheat death. Without wasting time, Bro equips the mouse into his inventory and starts bolting ahead. He instructs Masa to stop moving the moment his countdown is finished. Exhausted as he is, Masa thinks it's a terrible idea to stop in front of a machine that's going to leave more holes in their body than they can count. Ignoring Masa, our boy initiates his countdown as he races on ahead. The drone continues to rain down a barrage of bullets against them, until finally, our boy signals the end of his countdown. Entrusting everything in this one opportunity, Michio grips the mouse in his hand, apologizing for what he's about to do. Then he throws the poor little guy against the drone, causing it to reassess its target's location. The drone quickly adjusts and spots the escaping mouse. Locking down on its target, it sends a swarm of bullets that inevitably result in the creature's death. F's in the chat for our fallen soldier. But thanks to that window of opportunity, Michio and Masa successfully escaped an encounter with death. The drone is still here, by the way. It's just that they've got to wait out its detection phase. The drone tries its best to look around, to trace its target, even going right up in Masa's face to detect the slightest of his movements. Michio, on the other hand, is mewing so hard that his body refuses to move even a single muscle. The only problem is the sweat dripping down his face. Luckily, its noise is so insignificant that the drone fails to pick up on it. In fact, it changes its direction and deems the execution as complete. And that's how Masa and Michio survived the mad pursuer's wrath. It was a close call, and our boy knows it too. He helps out his friend and explains that the murder machine they were up against just now is a drone developed by the Adlamir military. Its singular purpose is to kill without mercy, and the killing is so ruthless that it fails to differ allies from enemies. The model was considered defective and brutal, so much so that it never saw its use in war again. Masa is seriously shocked at the idea of using such a drone on the battlefield. It seems horrifying. As for our boy, he's lost in thought, not knowing why a ruthless killing machine is being used on this island, especially when the drone was deemed so dangerous that it was banned from selling to other countries. This island holds more mysteries than he thought, raising the question if the Aldemir military is somehow connected to it. After a near-death encounter with the drones, Michio finally returns home. Right away, the little kid is excited to see him alive. He seems concerned that it took Michio a while to come back, but the kid's mother reminds him that he should focus on welcoming their friend properly. An intrigued Michio walks up to see what's cooking, and discovers that it's a specialty stew that Kyo's working on. Well, from the looks of it, you can hardly call it a specialty dish. But to Michio's shock, the kid describes this meal as a fancy treat because of the leftovers they received. Yes, leftovers, and yes, fancy. It only paints the picture of how miserable the life of these slaves truly is. Without further ado, it's time to dig in and test the skill of Midget Gordon Ramsay. Michio takes a spoonful in his mouth, thinking it will be a savory, delicious meal. But you can hardly call it that when looking at his face. Bro is questioning his life's decision, describing the taste as intensely sour and questioning if this shit is even safe for consumption. Even when it came to his depressing military rations in the past, they were a lot better than the dog food he's having right now. Here's the thing though, even for such a depressing and disgusting meal, Kyo appears to be having the time of his life. Yeah, Michio can't even comprehend such a reaction. It's like the kid hasn't tasted anything better in his entire existence. While Michio's wondering about the kid's fascination for such food, he learns that the leftovers on this shitty island are actually really difficult to come by. In the end, Kyo had to eat even worse food while growing up, so this stuff feels like heaven to him. As the boy is devouring earthworms like they're savory noodles, his mother shows a concerned look on her face. She can't even face her child, and Michio picks on that. With the greatest wonder and excitement in the world, the little boy celebrates at the sight of a tiny piece of meat among the leftovers. To the slaves and the people living on this island, finding a piece of meat is like winning the lottery. The kid scoops it up with delight, and with their meal finally concluded, he turns to our boy with an open palm. Confused, Michio has no idea what he's supposed to be handing over. With an annoyed expression, the boy shouts that he deserves the food money for making a nice meal for them. Unfortunately, the only wage that Michio earned was quickly handed over to the other guy, so he's got nothing to give. Poor Kyo is devastated hearing that our boy surrendered his money to a completely random dude. Things get even worse when Kyo learns that he's going to keep on forking over his daily wage to Masa from now on. The kid is so shocked that he ends up dropping over his precious bowl of stew, pinning the blame on our boy, who is probably praying to God that he doesn't get a heart attack after eating this pile of shit. Anyway, Kyo's really sad that his precious stew got wasted, while Michio wraps up his meal and explains that he's got a plan. He instructs the kid to grab all the leftovers and follow him. The kid's got no clue what our boy has in store, but he decides to follow his advice anyway. So in the very next scene, they're out here in the forest, staring down a basket and a bunch of scraps. Kyo's got no clue what this guy's about to do in the dead of the night. Surprisingly, Michio uses the bowl of stew and flips it over on the ground. It appears like a waste of precious food in Kyo's eyes, but that's not the point. You see, our boy's smart. He intends to use the stinking leftovers as a means to prepare a trap. You remember that basket? It's supposed to be an anchor to catch any animal that tries to eat the food. With the trap prepared, our boy's confident that they should at least be able to catch small animals with it. Of course, the very mention of rats is enough to disgust anyone, even someone like Kyo who lives on a gutter island. Here's the thing though. Michio explains that sewer rats are known for carrying diseases, but those found in the wild are a whole different story. They're an excellent source of protein to be used in the time of need. Also, he's totally fine with catching something else if Kyo's uninterested in eating rats. Michio invites the kid on a longer walk. Some time passes, and the kid's curiosity begins to bother him. He wonders if they're planning to set up more traps to catch prey. It doesn't make sense to set any traps in thicker parts of the forest in Kyo's eyes. However, the hardened soldier understands the importance of such overgrown thickets. You see, animals generally feel much safer in places where they can find easy cover. Speaking of which, Kyo's eyes are bewildered in shock when he spots Michio's trap. It has actually caught hold of a bird, thanks to a simple bait trap. With this little guy in sight, Michio thinks they've got enough to give them a nice dinner for the night. Kyo's eyes radiate in joy as he agrees with Michio's suggestion. Let's switch perspectives and check out what's up with the admin building of the mining site. Assessing their output, the Akechi learns that they churned out nearly 650 tons when it came to mining. However, 9 slaves died in the process because of exhaustion. With so many deaths piling up in the span of 1 week, it's a surprise to no one that their malnutrition and weakened states are catching up. Ueshima, the deputy director of the project, speaks for the lives of the people. The kind-hearted man understands that they should help them out more with proper food and rest times. But of course, being the disgusting piece of shit that Akechi is, he tosses the papers up in the air in an effort to look cool. The word human life disgusts him as the people living on this island could barely be even called that. Even though Ueshima tries to protest, Akechi dismisses him and doesn't give a flying fuck if more people are dying. All he cares about are the results, which are consistently going higher every week. This greedy bastard wants to increase his rank among his peers and climb to the top. He's disgusted by the mere thought of staying on a shitty island like this. He also doesn't care if they end up extinguishing the life of every slave at their disposal, so long as he can make good use out of him. His sinister and cold words leave Ueshima shuddering in shock. Unfortunately, since he's inferior in rank to Akechi, all he can do is agree to the leader's thoughts. Discussing the next item, it appears that the total wages for the week ended up around 2.8 million yen. Total goods ranged about 2.5 million, and their current recovery rate appears to be close to 90%. To make it simple for those watching, these clowns made almost all of their money back spent on salaries. Remember the drunken fools who enjoyed a feast of pleasure and spent all their money? Yeah, that's actually a trap set to extinguish all their salaries and reinvest it back. Akechi thinks that these lowlives are comparable to animals, who are caught in a simple trap without any thought. The director inquires for any unusual reports, and learns that a slave appears to be saving money for the promised Paraiso Pass. Of course, the very mention of such a fool makes the entire department laugh like clowns, because they think it's impossible to save up 1 million yen with such a strategy. At the same time, Akechi is intrigued by the mention of this slave and wants to investigate him. The following day, Masa shows up at Michio's door, asking for him to come out. But it appears that our boy's already outside and calls him from behind the shelter. Masa curiously takes a look, but he can't believe his eyes. Michio's out here training to fight Goku. This man is looking ripped as hell even on an island where they barely give you any food to survive. Without halting his training, he asks what Masa wants from him. Completely stunned by what he's doing, Masa explains that he actually came here so they can go to work together. But he's at a loss for words right now. Michio stops his training and explains that he's trying to strengthen his weak body. After all, if he's going to have to accomplish his goals, he certainly needs to have the strength to catch up to his previous level so he can kill the bastards who betrayed him. Of course, Masa doesn't know a thing about Michio's past life, and simply thinks of our boy as a weirdo for training just before a hellish workday. Hearing their chatter gets Kyo to come out as well. He's just woken up and glances at the man in front of him. Masa quickly introduces himself as Michio's co-worker at the mining site. Unfortunately, the name Masa gets the little kid all riled up because Michio's been handing all of his money to him. Kyo demands his wages to be returned at once, stating that they were going to use that money to buy food. The poor kid expresses their misery as they never have enough money to make their bellies full. Kyo's expression leaves Masa's memories to flush in his head, remembering a time where his little sister Yui felt hungry. Masa would cook for her and care for her, and the little girl was fond of her older brother's dishes. The memory of him making bread rusks for Yui, the joy he felt while making them. Masa wants to experience all of that again. So, he takes a knee to Kyo and apologizes for taking Michio's money. Notice how he isn't scolding a child or trying to explain in terms only adults would understand? This is called emotional intelligence. To color a new experience for Kyo, he tells the boy that he'll bring a gift next time so they can forget this moment. Though a bit frustrated, Kyo's okay with accepting the gift, as long as it's worth some good money. While they're having a laugh, our boy puts on his shirt to welcome the hellish workday ahead. In the next scene, they're in the mines. The slaves are working inhumanly hard, leaving some of them to the brink of exhaustion. In fact, Masa notices Haida's perilous state and signals his other friend Ishizuka to cover for his position. Ishizuka quickly hops over to Haida's heavy sack. He insists on holding up his side of work while he can get some rest. Masa's impressive leadership quality is actually noticed by the director himself. The workers drop to a face of shock, unable to believe that Akechi himself has come to meet them. The director is genuinely impressed by Masa's concern for the well-being of his co-workers. The rumors about his competence appear to be true. Meanwhile, Masa's out here questioning how a mere insect like him has become a sudden interest of the director. Akechi explains that Masa's ability to generate high-quality output for his team, always managing properly without any violence, has been noticed in the eyes of the admin group. The guy is out here quivering in shock, before lowering his body to thank the director for his kind words. Akechi smiles. Something tells me that his evil ass is plotting something. The director tells Masa that he actually came to give the young man a special bonus for showing such competence. Being rewarded for your hard work is uncommon amongst the workers, so Masa's genuinely taken off guard, while Akechi believes that a reward might boost his motivation to work. In the background, Washima appears disgusted for some reason, signaling that something terrible is about to happen. Even our boy Michio is sharply observing the scene play out. The cunning director explains that in order to receive such a reward, they should talk someplace safe, since this mine is full of malicious people who can steal his reward. And with those words, he lures Masa out, imploring him to come with them to a safer location. Quickly seeking Michio's guidance, he tells our boy that at this rate, he really might achieve his dream of acquiring the Paraiso Pass. However, our boy's senses are on sharp alert. He wants Masa to stay sharp on his toes because something about the situation seems sketchy. Of course, overtaken by the excitement of the reward, Masa thinks it's going to be fine, that it's a sign of good luck and a blessing for hard work. And so, he quickly bolts off to catch up with Akechi's group. Before leaving, Kusanagi addresses Michio by his name as a smile creeps up on his face. He gives our boy a malicious smile, questioning if he's worried that something's going to happen to his friend. Kusanagi ends up telling Michio that they're going to use Masa's place for a gathering. In the next scene, that's exactly what ends up happening. The innocent guy brings Akechi's group back to his place, embarrassed to invite his buddies in a shit stain of a place. The director counters and argues that a closed room is ideal for their conversation. Yeah, I'm starting to see some major death flags. F's in the chat for Masa. Anyway, he quickly welcomes them inside, once again apologizing for his uncomfortable and dirty home. With an expression full of joy, he tells his guests to make themselves comfortable while he whips up some tea for the group to enjoy. But that's when it happens. The cruel director's mask finally slips, as he reveals his disgust for the filthy place. Before Masa can even process what's going on, Akechi signals his men to search every last inch of his home. His men quickly trash everything for any signs of money, while Masa is helpless to stop them. The poor guy ends up eating a powerful punch in the gut at the hands of Kusanagi, leaving him vomiting on the ground just to catch his breath. Next, a guy mounts on top of his back, restraining both of his arms. Poor Masa's misery reaches a new low, as he fails to understand what's going on. Aizen wannabe over here does the cliché glasses pose and shares Masa's intention of buying the Paraiso Pass. The director wants him to reveal where he's hiding all of his precious money. The poor guy is at a loss for words, until the brutal director grabs him by his hair, treating him like he's subhuman, as he drills it into Masa's head that he doesn't like wasting time. The merciless Akechi assures him that if he doesn't reveal the location of the money, he'll lose more than just his cash. Poor Masa realizes that the special bonus bullshit has been a lie all this time, while the director feels disgusted by his low IQ. Reduced to tears in a pathetic state, Masa pleads for mercy, stating that he doesn't have any money to his name as he's just a slave. However, Akechi doesn't like wasting his time and bitch slaps him into the ground. With the slave refusing to comply, the director orders his men to execute the next phase of the operation. A pliers gripped in his hand, the man approaches the defenseless Masa, who is terrified for his life. The man shoves the tool right in his mouth, fixating its grip on his frontal incisor teeth. Mercilessly, the man starts pulling his tooth while Masa grovels in pain and tears, begging for them to stop. The psychotic director ignores his cries and orders his men to finish it. The result? A tooth pain comparable to your average visit at the dentist's office. Blood spews out of his mouth as Masa loses his mind in shock and agony. The director reminds the slave of his position and what he said earlier. If Masa had simply given up the location, he wouldn't have had to endure such torture. But it doesn't end here. Akechi is more than thrilled to do it again if Masa refuses to talk, with every refusal resulting in the slave losing another part of himself. In the next scene, we get to see the sight of the workers who have just concluded their workday for a break. They're talking about Masa and how he and the director vanished off for a long time. While some are speculating that the chief of the operation has taken a real liking to their friend, our boy isn't so sure. He sees the deputy director Washima returning to them, but with a look of disappointment and sadness on him. Curious about what happened to his friend, Michio asks for Masa's condition. The deputy director does his best to feign ignorance, acting like he doesn't know shit. But Michio bites back, countering that he knows these guys are scheming something behind the scenes. Ueshima wasn't expecting to get confronted and put on the spot, but for Michio's safety, he lets the guy with a piece of advice. He doesn't want him to investigate deeper if he values his own safety. The advice frustrates our boy, but unfortunately there's not much he can do in this situation. And so in the next scene we realize that Masa's brutalizing torture still hasn't ended. No, he's lost most of his teeth and can't even say a thing without wailing in pain. Seeing him grovel in the dirt, Akechi advises the slave to stop resisting, or else he'll never be able to eat the same way again. Mouthing what little words he can in his pathetic state, Masa roars once more. He doesn't have any money, so he can't say anything. His persistent attitude pisses off the director even more, forcing him to prolong the torture. Masa loses yet another tooth. But here's the absolutely terrifying part. This time, his captors push the same sharp tooth right up into his gums, causing a searing amount of pain. Having placed the tooth back into where it was, Akechi smiles. The bastard's probably thinking he's being nice about it too. The director's methods of torture appear to be clear. He's going to make sure the slave loses all of his teeth, and then he's going to make his men plant them back inside. This psychopath sings to the tune of extraction and reimplantation as Masa continues to lose his teeth, before them being shoved back again in agonizing manner. They've made a complete mess of his mouth, with no mercy or plans of stopping in sight. Truly, he was dealing with the most abominable humans on the planet, the ones that took great enjoyment in the suffering of others. The same song continues as the director takes great ecstasy, which is tragically contrasted by Masa's terrifying screams. With yet another session of torture concluded, the director wonders if the slave has finally diced it to change his mind about the money. Masa's face rests among his chipped teeth. The only thing comforting this young man are the sweet memories of his sister. That freedom, that joy, that future is the reason he has held on for so long. In fact, he plans to keep going, promising never to give up, because Masa is willing to do everything to get off this shitty island. Back at home, his little sister Yui had some medical problems, requiring surgery. The surgery was a success, but it left his sister sad for her brother's money. Masa didn't let her feel a thing, and told her he'd gotten a new job, and that he was going to make sure to earn a lot for her sake. And that's why, despite being at the lowest point of his life, having suffered an unfathomable pain at the hands of his captors, Masa refuses to give up. He doesn't want his sister to be all alone. I have to stop and admit one thing. Masa has just become my favorite character, even more than Michio. What an incredible guy. The director's starting to reach his limit. He can't believe that a mere slave is out here putting up a fight and still acting tough in the situation he's in. In response, Masa still doesn't budge and maintains his story. He has no money. Akechi is starting to run out of options until Kusanagi decides that it's a good idea to step in. The first thing this meathead does is kick his own men. Even the director is shocked by Kusanagi's sudden move. The blonde brute thinks that their current tactics are failing them and that it's time to switch strategies. Before Akechi can even ask what he wants, Kusanagi grabs the whimpering slave and admits that he's actually quite proud of Masa's spirit. Proud as he may be, this man quickly comes up with a Haymaker 9000 and delivers it right into Mesa's guts, literally shattering his ribs. Spewing out blood in yet another wave of unimaginable pain, Masa is groveling to catch his breath. The blonde is once again impressed, and thinks that the people who refuse to talk even after a beatdown are the most enjoyable to torture. So basically, this man is out here enjoying himself while crumbling Masa's persistence. He loads yet another punch, the same punch that is capable of shattering one's bone upon every impact. The tortured slave describes this situation in his mind, believing Kusanagi's punches to be even more painful than the torture of pulling teeth he endured all day. Taking great joy in hitting him, Kusanagi prepares to hit him again. If this attack connects with his head, even Masa knows that he may not survive it. His final thoughts are once again his sister's precious memories, who really only cares for her brother to return alive. The soul-reaping punch connects against Masa's body, while Akechi enjoys the sight, commenting that all of his miseries could stop if he starts talking. The brutal beatdown continues. Kusanagi destroys him front and back, treating him like a punching bag. Masa's torture is copuled with his sister's beloved face. He's sent flying with every punch and still refusing to talk. The director's composure is starting to crack. He roars at the slave to just reveal the damn location of the money. Despite all the hell he's endured, Masa still doesn't fall. He maintains his stance, there is no money. What a guy. Akechi's done with the torture and gives full permission to the meathead to end his life. Taking great delight, the guy loads a monstrous punch as the scene cuts off. While this is happening, Michio is blitzing full speed to catch up to his friend's place, clearly worried after his conversation with the deputy director. But when he arrives inside, there's nothing. Nothing except a pitiful man, covered in blood and bruises all over him. A man who can barely breathe, but still manages to utter Michio's name. Michio's appalled to see his friend in such a condition and holds him in place. Thanks to his military experience, he fully understands the dreadful condition Masa is in. This kid has fractured most of his lower ribs, and even his breathing is at an alarmingly rapid rate. This is bad news, especially when there's a chance of a rib piercing one of his lungs. As for his face, Masa appears to have nasal and eye socket fractures all over him. Not to mention the skull fractures too. There are painful stab wounds inside his gums, and clearly no teeth to be found. I think Michio's hopes for his friend's life are slowly withering away, just like mine when I see Masa in such a state. Weak pulse coupled with such traumatic injuries, it only leads to one question in our boy's mind. He's dying to know what kind of humans continue to torture someone to such a condition. Despite his state, Masa strings together a bunch of sentences and feels sorry for not following Michio's advice. In the end, they really were after his money. But even after all this torture, he didn't break. He protected it with his life. All that determination barely matters anymore, because the money is useless to Masa in the condition he's in. So he makes a noble decision to entrust every last penny to his friend Michio. But because of Michio's personal beliefs, he doesn't like to be owed favors. In fact, he's got hope in his friend's recovery and wants Masa to use it to help himself. However, it appears that Masa's spirit has already accepted the cold, hard reality. He's not going to survive. He's dying in his friend's arms. And if he doesn't hand over the amount to the one person he trusts most, all of it will be for nothing. And so Masa reveals the location of where the money is stored. The place is just up ahead. It's a marked tree, and just next to it, the money is buried underneath. Masa fully understands that he's working night and day to acquire this amount. The fact that he's entrusting it to Michio means a lot. The only thing he asks in return is for Michio to find his sister once he's off the island. The mention of a sister surprises our boy. Even in death, Masa can't help but rejoice in the memories he shared with her, of how she cut up her favorite skirt just to give her brother a present for working so hard. I can hardly imagine anyone smiling after the torture Masa went through, but he still happens to experience happiness, knowing that Michio will find her and help her. However, our boy doesn't feel certain in his chances, and thinks that it's a promise far above him. Masa succumbs to dread and screams at him in denial, begging and pleading with him to take care of Yui Honjo, his one and only dear sister. And when he finally meets up with her, Masa wants Michio to deliver a message, that her older brother never forgot about her even in his final moments. Saying those words, Masa's body goes limp, his spirit breaks, and he goes off to eternal rest. I've only known this side character for a few chapters, and my respect for him is through the roof. Like this video if you feel the same. Michio is burdened with ensuring a proper send-off for his dear friend. He closes his eyes and embraces the moment with courage and silence. In every tear that Masa shed, a memory of his sister remained. A beautiful ending. Outside, Michio takes his friend's body for a proper burial, while someone watches the scene from close by. Arriving at the same tree that Masa talked about, Michio quickly starts digging up the spot. After a while, he discovers a box inside. He pulls it out and uncovers it, revealing the hard-earned savings of his friend. Michio turns to Masa's body and assures him that he's secured the amount. Remember the cloth that his sister gave him? It's tied around his left arm. Michio quickly undoes the knot and decides to keep this as a final token to remember his friend. He bands it together around his face, using it as a mask, and thanks his friend for helping him. Just when we all thought that shit would calm down, Akechi and his goons arrive from out of nowhere. They're surprised that Masa endured the torture to his death, losing his life as well his money because now they've located it. In the eyes of the psychotic director, it's a fitting end for a bottom-feeding heap of trash. Michio simply stares at him without a response, while Akechi quickly tells the unimportant slave to surrender the amount. Our boy gets up and gives this scumbag the meanest side-eye I've ever seen, refusing to give up the amount. The director sees Michio as nothing more than just another foolish slave. He tells his men to quickly seize the money, believing that it'll be just as easy as last time. 3 dudes quickly lunge forth, thinking their numbers serve them the advantage. But what good are numbers if you're going up against the protagonist? Looking cool as fuck, Michio unleashes a brutal first punch, knocking the wind out of the guy. He doesn't stop there. Excellently maneuvering from the first attack, he follows through with a full combo against the second guy too. The third and final fool tries to surprise him with a sucker punch, but Michio delivers a jawbreaker 9,000 uppercut right up his damn face. The 3 men are immediately put down, as if they were nothing more than children. Finally, our boy breaks his silence, stating that he was entrusted the money by his friend. The war funds will be used for his own objectives, and if anyone dares to steal it from him, he'll make sure to annihilate them. The director thinks his men are useless and decides to bring a gun to a fight with hands. This man thinks the answer to every problem is a Glock, and yes, I know he's not holding a Glock in this scene, but you get the point. Michio is alarmed at the sight of the weapon. As fast as he is, he can't exactly uppercut a bullet. But thanks to the blonde brute's ego, Kusanagi steps in, believing that it's not worth it to use a bullet. It seems like he's giving good advice to the director, when really, all this man wants is a chance to finish their fight from the first time. Bro wants to square up at every opportunity. Send this dude's address to Goku. Michio doesn't feel intimidated, while the director orders Kusanagi to wrap things up quickly. Both fighters get into fighting stance. I'll be Captain Obvious and say that our boy's clearly outclassed when it comes to size and strength here. Kusanagi knows that and lunges forth like a predator locking in on his target. The fight starts off with Michio blocking and deflecting his blows, sustaining minimal damage. From this small exchange, he has acquired insight into Kusanagi's fight style. He's got the skills of a professional boxer, and he even takes his time to compliment our boy's impressive footwork. At the same time, Kusanagi believes that one can only dodge for so long. But what he doesn't know is that Michio has ultra instinct to spam infinite dodging, because he does exactly that and connects a powerful punch against the dude's liver. Initially, it seems like the attack did some serious damage. But this story portrays the concept of size and strength perfectly, because the blonde over here feels nothing even after the attack. A liver blow is no joke, and yet Kusanagi is out here acting like it barely even tickled him, proving that Michio's seriously gonna have to up his game in order to defeat him. In response, Kusanagi hammers away a solid punch, and his attack literally sends our boy flying back. It's such a brutal blow that it takes a second for Michio to maintain his stance afterwards. Adding in Akichi's commentary, he thinks that a cat can only dodge so much against a tiger. Despite the shit talk, Michio goes back into the ring and offers a barrage of punches to strike Kusanagi down. His impressive punches and speed are enough to astonish the director, but then again, this level of strength isn't going to be enough to take down a monstrous opponent like Kusanagi. Speaking of which, the guy readies yet another powerful punch, alerting our boy to block with both his arms. The strike connects and, devastatingly enough, launches Michio into the air again. Once more, he's had to regain his stance. But only this time, our boy's standing at the edge of the cliff. If he falls from this height, death is guaranteed. Kusanagi rages on, believing that dodging won't do much to help the slave. But Michio uses his insane battle IQ and waits for the punch. Then, he lets the punch glide just past him, using that brief window to launch a brutal hook against his opponent's face, obliterating at least 20 brain cells with the attack. The attack connects and genuinely leaves Kusanagi dazed after the impact. His body may be sturdy, but the human head can only endure so much physical trauma. Michio's first successful punch may have started to shift the tide of battle. However, Kusanagi instead takes great joy that he's being pushed around for once. He's viewing this battle as an actual fight. Both of them re-enter their fighting stances and gloriously prepare for another exchange. The blonde notices his opponent's counterstance position, and this time, he's ready for it. So when he throws a punch, he actually stops it right before Michio's face. This is actually called a feint, and Kusanagi excellently uses it to his advantage to prepare his real attack, a kick. From the perspective of the director, our boy is sharply observing Kusanagi's movements, thinking of him like your average boxer. But here's the thing, this blonde brute also knows how to throw kicks in between his attacks, complicating his fighting style. In the span of a few seconds, Michio's intuition kicks in as he quickly changes his stance to block the destructive kick targeting his head. His successful defense stuns Kusanagi for a good minute and leaves him startled for an opening. Our boy tackles him down using this opportunity, seizing the ground. Seeing Kusanagi overwhelmed and overtaken like this has stunned the director's very soul. Even the brute himself is at a loss for words. It's as if Michio read his intention to create a feint and use a kick from the beginning. While he's manhandling a guy twice his size, Michio explains that he could read the subtle difference in his lower body stance, indicating to him that his opponent is used to kicking as well. And with that nugget of explanation, Michio elbows the shit out of his face, leaving a sizzling pain in Kusanagi's face. This guy's basically done for as Michio prepares yet another elbow to end the fight. But somehow, Kusanagi manages to pull the odds back in his favor. He successfully grabs a hold of our boy's neck, leaving him extremely vulnerable in such a position. The blonde meathead thinks that it's a pity because Michio came really close to winning the fight, but he quickly forgot about one thing. This isn't a martial arts fight where they have to follow rules. Saying so, he slams our boy into the ground and starts choking him out. Kusanagi roars that this battle is a proper brawl where anything goes. Michio's struggling to breathe and really doesn't have many options here. As for the director, Akechi is embracing entertainment. He hasn't seen Kusanagi go all out against anyone like this before. Even though many slaves in the past rebelled, it never went their way. Some of them were even skilled in martial arts, but in the end, they were slaughtered by Kusanagi's hands. The thing is, this guy fights dirty, he's a brawler, he's a street fighter, literally. That's why he thinks he's above ordinary martial artists, who are far inferior to his level. His experience in past battles gives him confidence as he chokes Michio on the ground. Luckily for our boy, he quickly applies the correct technique and angles a palm strike against Kusanagi's neck. Furthermore, he positions his leg in a stance that distances his opponent from getting a good hold on him. Kusanagi is starting to realize that he's not dealing with an ordinary martial artist over here. Our boy quickly shows him who's boss by maneuvering his legs into a position that they lock Kusanagi's arm, and then using the same maneuver, Michio transfers the momentum to his lower body weight, crushing Kusanagi on the ground and gaining back his chances of victory. The blonde brute doesn't even have the chance to process the situation. Michio has locked away his arm and pushes him down to hold him in place. Understanding the position they're in, Michio reminds his dear opponent of the shit he said earlier. If this is a real brawl, then everything goes, right? To demonstrate his point, our boy shatters Kusanagi's damn arm, sending him a river of roaring pain. Losing an arm makes him Michio's little bitch. Our boy gets on top of him and emphasizes that even though this is a brawl in Kusanagi's eyes, to him, this fight is even less than that. It's just a murder spree of one man, the most dangerous man the Aldemir army has ever recruited in their special unit, George Sai. He had a record for having an unmatched combat ability, so his fights could hardly be called a brawl. Kusanagi doesn't know any of this. He's just intrigued by what a mere slave has to offer. Applying a dirty tactic, he uses his fingers and aims right for Michio's eyes. Responding to a dirty tactic with a dirty attempt of his own, Michio smashes his head against the force of the fingers, immediately breaking them and giving Kusanagi another painful experience. The thing about Michio is that in his past life, all he's ever known is a battle between life and death as a soldier. He's a killing machine who doesn't have any restraint. In fact, even now he goes for a full hammer thrust of his elbow, aiming to crush Kusanagi's head. Luckily for Kusanagi, he was able to evade it in time, but the same damn elbow didn't have any form of hesitation behind it. It even left a dent in the ground, making the brawler question who the hell he's up against. Any ordinary man would have hesitated before the act of taking a life. But Michio? A mere slave is appearing to show no signs of hesitation. It's like a regular Tuesday for him. He doesn't even care or show emotion. He's literally being John Wick about it and thinks it's just another kill. The realization finally hits Kusanagi. He's dealing with someone who will only stop when he kills his target. Pathetically, the brawler tries to block with his broken arms. But he left an opening that Michio easily exploited, targeting a pressure point in his neck, adding on to his agonizing pain. Now the situation has completely reversed. It's Michio holding him down and choking his opponent out, and Kusanagi quickly realizing that he made a grave mistake understanding this guy. In his eyes, there's no doubt about the fact that Michio is a literal killing machine. That's the last thing he thinks about before our boy bashes a brutal punch in his damn face, knocking him out cold. Let's talk about our boy's fighting style for a moment. George Sai, or rather Michio, specializes in an efficient martial arts style called Krav Maga. Most special forces use it among different countries, and it's often considered the world's strongest martial art for close combat encounters. By the way, knocking someone out cold isn't enough for our boy. He grabs a chunky stone from the ground and aims to bash Kusanagi's skull with it. Fixing his sights to smash his head to pieces, Michio shows no hesitation in swinging the stone all the way down. Right as he's about to connect the stone with Kusanagi's head, Kyo's words start flowing back into his mind. The boy who begged a ruthless killing machine against becoming a murderer. Remembering that one moment causes Michio to reconsider his actions. He chucks the stone away into the water. The fight is over, with Kusanagi out of commission. Or so you think, because this stubborn meathead gets up a minute later to go again. Bro's lost like half his teeth and he's still out here yapping about enjoying the fight. Dude wants to fight to the death, and Michio quickly realizes that round 2 is about to start. But before either one of them could do a thing, our boy hears Akechi loading his gun from behind. Hearing that, he quickly dodges before the shot is fired, causing him to evade the line of sight. Unfortunately for Kusanagi, Bro ended up taking the hit for free. Having dodged the encounter puts our boy in trouble, because he's headed right into the sea. While he's got to worry about falling, Kusanagi is out here processing the bullet wound in his chest. By the way, Michio managed to catch the edge of the cliff to survive, while the director is out here frustrated that he missed his one shot to take down the slave. At the same time, he doesn't even feel guilty for shooting Kusanagi by accident. In his eyes, Bro's just a loser who couldn't finish off one slave. The blonde brute curses at him for his sudden betrayal, but this psychotic director thinks it's only natural to put his servants down when they are no longer of any use to him. In one final act of rebellion, Kusanagi charges ahead. Yes, Bro is charging at the guy holding a gun aimed at him. Akechi takes great joy in shooting him numerous times. Now, I don't know what kind of plot armor this blonde fucker is wearing, but tell me how he's able to run through multiple gunshot wounds. Even the director is like, what the fudge is happening? In Kusanagi's one final act of rebellion, he charges a powerful Texas smash aimed right for the director's ugly face. Akechi knows that if he eats this attack, he's not going to be able to view himself in the mirror anymore. So he activates his aimbot and goes for a clean headshot on Kusanagi, stopping his fiery rampage and ending the fight. The punch only stopped inches away from Akechi's face, so it still made him shit his pants. It's just that he couldn't experience the physical beatdown of it. Kusanagi's lifeless corpse topples to the ground, while the director is left laughing like a maniac. He celebrates the moment by kicking Kusanagi's corpse around, believing that it's good riddance for a useless mad dog like him. I'm not even kidding. Bro's got so much beef against his dead body that he can't stop kicking it around. Akechi roars at his defeated subordinates to get up and file an immediate report. He wants to pin the blame of Kusanagi's death on Michio by accusing him of stealing a gun. Finally, he turns his attention back to the man responsible. Michio is staring him down from the distance, assessing his options. The director applauds him for having come this far with his incredible fighting prowess. But at the same time, the sinister director reminds Michio that a single man can't win a war no matter how much he tries. In the end, weapons and strategy win them all. Surprisingly, Michio throws his hands up in the air, as if to say he surrenders. This gesture comes across as a surprise in the eyes of Akechi, who takes great joy in knowing that even a powerful fighter is afraid of being caught at the end of a gun. Michio doesn't say a word and maintains his position to surrender. The director doesn't want to spare his life after all. He did just waste his time and his precious bullets. Arrogantly, Akechi walks up to the guy, pointing out that the slave made a poor choice running to the edge of a cliff. Michio finally breaks his silence, stating that he actually made the right choice. The director hears a sudden sound, questioning where it's coming from. Do you guys remember the aimbot drones from earlier? Yeah, they've just been activated thanks to Michio's attempt to climb down the cliff. The director realizes exactly what's going to happen. I think we all do. Before any of the director's men could understand the situation, they were immediately shot dead. One guy falls to the ground, leaving Akechi to realize he's about to get his world rocked by the drone. Their despairing faces are a sight to see, especially in front of a machine who doesn't give a damn what you are when it's locked its targets down. Two of the other men start running in the opposite direction, thinking that it'll be enough to save their lives. But the drone catches onto their motion and locks down in pursuit mode. Now, it won't stop until it has achieved its one singular objective: target elimination. Let's take over Michio's thoughts for a moment. He reflects that the mad pursuer is notorious for hunting down anything that moves and eliminates without a second thought. The same happens as both of the guys are shot dead in a satisfying manner. The director, who still has a gun aimed at Michio's head, is practically shivering in sight. Our boy understands that this bastard Akechi has yet to move even a muscle. This is because he knows about drones, more specifically the drone model Mad Pursuer. This puts both of them in a standstill. If either of them tries to flee, the drone will annihilate them. The drone returns to survey the area, while the director enters his thoughts. He has no idea how a mere slave was able to lure the drone all the way up here. Ordinary slaves on the island didn't even know about the drone's existence. Even then, Akechi's damned about everything else. All he cares about now is killing the slave in front of him, who has proved to be far more dangerous than he ever thought. Before he pulls the trigger, Michio starts talking again, pointing out the director's knowledge of the drone. He also blissfully reminds the director that if he ends up pulling the trigger, it's not just Michio's who's gonna die, but rather the drone will ensure that Akechi's gonna end up in a dozen holes himself. The director is alarmed by his words, but he thinks our boy's bluffing. As smart as the detection technology is, he thinks it's not intelligent enough to track down a movement of a trigger. Hearing this, Michio switches his approach and encourages the director to try shooting him then. He'll easily find the answer if it's really a bluff or not. Akechi's at his wit's end, while our boy keeps on shit-talking him to his face, calling him a coward who can do nothing more than hurl insults at other people. In fact, he's instilled so much fear in the director that Akechi isn't even moving his mouth without his intent. It pisses him off to the core that a slave is toying with him. Akechi wants to kill the pile of trash in front of him for even daring to say such words. As it appears right now, he considers that if he pulls the trigger, the drone won't be able to trace a few centimeters worth of movement. At the same time, the lingering fear of the drone reacting in that small window hovers over his mind. He doesn't want to take his chances when it comes to his life. Interestingly, Michio was indeed bluffing, because he doesn't know for sure if the drone is capable of picking up such faint traces of movement like pulling a trigger. But with this, he's bought himself some time to wait out the moment. The drone will hover for a little while longer, and when it thinks its job is finished, it will return to its starting position. In that small window, our boy intends to lunge at full speed to take down the director, bashing his head and seizing control of the situation. A battle of patience has begun. The drone hovers over both their lives, while Akechi is quivering at his chances, not knowing what decision he should make. Unexpectedly, a strong gust of wind blows from the forest and out to where they're both standing. The gust of wind is able to throw the drone off balance, allowing the director to find his one opportunity to pull the trigger. The bastard quickly opens fire against the slave. And no, this isn't one of those stories where the protagonist can dodge bullets point blank. But thanks to Akechi's stormtrooper aim, the best he could do is graze our boy's shoulder. By the way, because Michio reacted to the bullets, the drone quickly picks up on his movement and locks him down as a target. This is bad news, and our boy knows it. He bolts ahead without a second thought. The drone starts pouring down a barrage of bullets against him. The bullets completely fail to hit their target as Michio chooses to jump off the cliff. Here's the problem though. Bro can't dodge midair, and because of that, he gets shot in his thigh, which is an entertaining sight to the director. The final scene appears to be one of defeat. Our boy's body is falling from the cliff. He has no defense, and he's been shot twice in one go. As he's falling down, Michio pulls one last maneuver and reorients his body midair, allowing him to stick a landing into the sea with both his feet. Michio may have fallen into the water, but this damn drone doesn't stop there either. Bro's out for blood and starts shooting down into the sea. The bullets luckily fail to connect with their target, but it still doesn't change the fact that our boy's terribly injured. Using this chance to escape, he maneuvers deeper into the water, causing the drone to think that it completed its target execution. Saying those words, the drone returns to its initial position, where Akechi is waiting with a gun in his hand. He's not stupid enough to pick a fight with the drone, so he goes over to check the cliff, and realizes that the slave met his demise. The sight of victory amuses him, as he revels in his own glory. Bro's out here laughing like he's seen a skit from Trevor Wallace or Matt Rife. Back to our boy. Michio emerges from the water, realizing that the drone is gone as well as the director. With his immediate threats eliminated, the threat of his injuries replaces them. He's got a bad leg bleeding out in the water. Realizing that the bullet is actually still inside his leg, he quickly uses the cloth from his mask to stop the bleeding. The next step is to get the wound treated quickly. So, bleeding out while swimming as best he can, he approaches the cliff. But suddenly, he hears something. A fucking megalodon is out here to take this man's life. The giant-ass shark is about to slaughter him in half, but luckily he's able to avoid his demise. The realization hits him. Remember the blood? It lured the shark all the way here. In this brief moment, Michio understood the true danger he was in. He wasn't just facing any shark, he was facing the supreme predator of the ocean, the reason why the movie Jaws even exists, the great white shark. A beast with a dynamic build, made to kill and travel at incredible speeds. The same shark whose bite force is far beyond a pressure force of 1 ton. And that same creature is out here trying to eat our main character. Michio avoids becoming dinner for the shark with another dodge, though I'm not sure why he bothered glazing its speed if he can avoid it so easily. Though he avoided the bite, the shark's tail still manages to whip him with an incredible force, causing him to lose his breath in the water. Not just that, the shark quickly adjusts its trajectory for a second chance to strike. Michio goes up to reclaim his breath, and it's here that he sees a faint shadow of the great white quickly growing bigger and bigger. Understanding that he's about to get attacked from below, Michio seizes the initiative and goes into the water. He extends his arms flat and starts aura farming in a T-pose. This is actually an excellent strategy by our boy. You see, sharks love to ambush their prey, but in this case, our boy is making it loud and clear with his manly T-pose that he's noticed the ugly-toothed killing machine of the ocean. I can't even believe I'm saying this, but this man really just stunned the shark for a minute with his move. At the same time, his bleeding leg causes more problems for him, encouraging the shark to strike. Michio's entire strategy is shattered the second the shark catches the scent of his blood. Right now he's extremely vulnerable, but this man refuses to go down. He's already locking down on the shark's vital points, realizing that the only chance he's got right here is to attack the creature's vulnerable nose. As the monstrous shark opens its jaw to deliver a crushing bite, the indomitable human spirit is determined to fight on. Targeting the Lorenzini's organ of the great white, Michio manages to connect a forceful punch on the creature's nose. For a moment, he really thinks that his strategy worked. But unfortunately, it blows up in his damn face as the shark tackles his body with a crushing force. Michio is pushed out of the water, realizing that he's utterly outmatched when it comes to the difference between their physique. Bro is fighting a great white shark without any weapons while being injured. It's like he's experiencing life at Elden Ring difficulty. Anyway, Michio reclaims his breath again, worried as hell that the shark might still be hovering around to attack him. And yeah, it's about to do just that, this time taking advantage of Michio's blind spot. The giant shark opens its jaw to devour him, while the injured human barely manages to evade the bite. That's the good news at least. But here's the bad news. His shirt got stuck in its jaw, forcing him to get dragged alongside it. The monstrous shark pulls him all the way down, while Michio admits that even the peak of human strength is nothing compared to the might of an aquatic apex predator. Even though our boy put up a really good fight, he succumbs to despair as his body is ragdolled into the deeper sea.